You're so, oh my goodness. Oh, you're so sweet.
This is the first room you're ever in. Here's your mom. About to thrust you out. Like the Hulk she is. You know she hates needles. She's doing that for you.
I hate having needles permanently inside of my body. That can't be good. I mean,
That's where I'll be. And pretty nice view here at Mass General. I'll check again tomorrow if we're still here. It rained today. Oh damn, there's a Zakum. We'll see if the sun is shining tomorrow and we're still here.
hopefully we are. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, can we put the head of the bed down? Tell me when. See your daddy? I see your daddy? That's pretty good, thank you. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I know. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, everyone just whatchamacallit, I can do it.
Hi, sweet
Your
girl.
mom is a rock star. Yeah. Oh my god.
You can see daddy. What are you looking at?
Do you like phones or do you hate it?
Yeah. It's relaxed. You want to hold her? She's perfect. She's 6 pounds, 11 ounces. I pushed for 4 minutes. Oh my god. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, and we're here with Colette. So we obviously had a girl. This is Colette Joan Deschaudis. She was born on her due date. So today we're going to share our birth story, and I think it's really helpful to have Jordan here. He can offer some incredibly valuable insights, and as a first-time dad, I think you can share a lot of your experience. And also, every time that we tell the birth story, there's parts that I don't remember that he does.
Yeah.
So I was like, you have to be there when I tell the story because I'm going to miss some of those key moments. I was totally in my own world. So
Rightly so.
yeah. So let's backtrack to the week of, and I had mentioned in my last video that they were worried about the fundal height for the baby, that things have been measuring completely normal up until the end of my pregnancy. And at the end, this was the week before my due date, I had met with my midwife and she said, you know, you're still measuring a little small again. You were back on track, but you're a little small again. You know, we're going to want to get you in for another ultrasound. And that is bringing us to the day before the due date. I went in for the ultrasound. My midwife was actually on vacation during this day, so the doctor was the one who came in. I'm thinking I'm just going in for a routine ultrasound. They're going to say everything looks good, go home. My midwife said we could even wait until July 4th until they even considered any sort of induction. So I went in, they did the scan, everything looked pretty good. The amniotic fluid, she said, was pretty normal. The lungs looked good. Everything overall looked good, but the doctor came in and said that she was concerned about intrauterine growth restriction and that she recommended that I go in, she was saying like now, to go get a bed at the hospital for an induction.
So as I learned, anything under 10% in terms of like their percentage.
Percentile.
Yeah, percentile. Anything above 10% is okay. Below, they start wanting to maybe move a little bit faster, and she was at the
9.
23rd to start.
Yep. And then it went to the 9th percentile.
Which,
so I was like just on the brink, right?
I think the drop from 23 to 9 meant that there was probably some issues getting some nutrients and stuff in there, or not growing as much. So that was what really prompted the next.
And the doctor mentioned that, you know, when I talked to her about what are the risks of not doing anything, and she said, you know, there's a potential to have a stillborn. And that's where I just kind of broke down crying, not until the nurse came in. There's a nurse there who is just wonderful. She always spent so much time with me. And seeing that familiar face, she came in the room, I just kind of broke down crying, like, is there something I did? Is something wrong with the baby? This is just kind of freaking me out. And she calmed me down, you know, said everything was totally fine and that this is just the protocol that they take to be extra cautious to ensure that the baby is, I feel like we say this all the time, if it's not growing inside, support it outside and make sure that it's getting all the nutrients that it needs. So I called Jordan. Jordan left work. We did the stress test. She said, okay, I'm going to send you for a stress test. If you pass the stress test, you can go home and then we'll get you a bed instead of me having to go right to the hospital, because we had like all our bags packed. We, you know, have the dog at home. We wanted to get all that stuff in order before going in if we did have an induction. So she said, if you pass the stress test, you know, you can go home. We passed the stress test within like 3 minutes. And then Jordan met me at home. I actually ended up seeing a few clients that afternoon that I was going to cancel because I needed a little bit of distraction. Jordan knows that I was not necessarily in the best mental space.
You were fine. I knew that's what you wanted to do, was probably be distracted by work. And
yeah,
because it's, even for me, was leading up to it was like, all right, it's, you know, any day now, any moment now. And then after that call, it was like, okay, what do we do? And we were waiting on a bed. So that was when she left and said they'd like to induce me or whatever today. They're going to wait to see if they can get a bed and then call us and then we'll know. In my mind, I thought it'd be like, I think you called around like 11 or 12. And I thought by 1 or 2, by the time I got home, we'd just pack up and go because a bed would be available. But it took till like 6:30, 7 o'clock before we actually got a call. And then there's a lot in between there that happened.
So up until this point, I had no cervical check. So I had no signs of labor, no cervical check. So I'm thinking I'm basically going to be going in with my body not being in a place where I'm even starting labor, which was mainly the biggest stress for me. I had this whole vision, which I know they say be flexible with your plan, but I just was struggling with that. Easier said than done. I had this whole vision where I would labor at home a little bit longer. I'd go in and, you know, the process would then carry on at the hospital. But anyway, I came home, we went and got pineapple. We got like a bunch of pineapple. I continued eating my dates. I was drinking my raspberry leaf tea.
Things to induce labor.
Things to induce labor. We were just honestly also doing it just to kill time, because we're just sitting at home thinking, okay, we've cleaned everything, we've done the laundry, we've packed our bags, let's just take our mind off it for a little bit. And there was excitement too. You know, I think you were very excited, you know, finally get to meet this baby that we've been waiting so long to meet. So 6 p.m. we got the call?
It was around there, I think.
Yeah, 6 p.m. we got the call. And it was kind of surreal the way it happened, where Jordan was actually giving me a massage to try to calm me down and just like get me into a good place before we went in. And he was kind of talking to me to try to like get me in a meditative space, saying things like, this birth is going to be calming, it's going to be great, it's going to be pain-free, all this stuff. And then as soon as we started that process, as he was giving me the massage, my phone rang and I put it on speakerphone and the nurse says, we've got a bed ready for you. And I just remember in that moment feeling like, oh my gosh, my heart just started racing, because it was like, this is happening. This is it.
Well, in typical fashion is, I forgot something, and the story that we probably should brought up was, I was mowing the lawn. She was on a call. I got a call from her midwife.
Right.
Because she gave me her phone in case, while she was on a call, we got the call from the hospital. And she gave us because she wanted a second opinion, or the opinion of her midwife. You know, like, do we need to go in today? Like, she wanted natural, obviously, and didn't want to have to go get induced if we didn't have to. So she wanted to hear from the midwife what her expertise was on that. And when I talked to her, it was, Yes, you could probably wait a few days. It's possible that you don't get a bed for a couple days anyways. I always remember it was like, there's a storm coming in, and believe it or not, that helps induce a lot of women. So a bed may be available tonight, but if the storm comes, they might be filled up by the time you want to come in the next day. So that was also part of our, in the middle there is our decision of, do we go in today? Do we wait until tomorrow morning and see if the beds open up and she dilates more? Well, we didn't even know you were dilated for sure then.
And it did storm. We drove into the hospital. It's pouring rain out. We actually ate dinner. I remember I was sick to my stomach the entire day, just like absolute high amount of nerves. Like force feeding myself at that dinner, being like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is actually happening. It felt like the way that I feel before I go into like a soccer game when I was younger, how I'd always get so nervous before. And yeah, I was nervous. Definitely nervous.
Yeah, so we did decide that we were going to go in when we got the call from the nurse saying that there's a bed open. She also said she recommends we go do it now. Obviously on the side of safety, which we kind of ended up agreeing on. And then that's when we had our last supper together.
Sweet potato,
alone. Yeah,
turkey, avocado. What else? Broccolini.
They didn't guarantee us we'd have a bed. They just said that, you know, the one's open. So we kind of took our time, but we should have maybe been hurrying.
Oops.
But it's still, you know, it doesn't mean that even if we hurried, the bed would have been open.
Right.
Well, by the time we got there. So, but we did get there. There was a room open.
I was kind of dreading it because it was already, 8 p.m. by the time we got there. And I said to Jordan, first time labor, this is going to be a long night. I was wrong.
Doesn't mean it wasn't a long night.
Yeah.
After all, but
right. That's true.
Yeah. What we thought was going to be 24 to 48 hours of labor, which most people go through with using Pitocin.
We got in, they got us checked in, we got our room. The nurse hooked me up, took my vitals. She put is it a catheter? No, she put in an IV just in case. I had voiced my desire to go for an unmedicated birth, and you could tell that the nurse was just kind of like, ooh, you're coming in for an induction and you want an unmedicated birth. I even asked her, you know, how common is it, or how common has it been for you to support women through that? And she's like, she's kind of hesitant. She said, oh, you know, it's a lot more painful. It's a lot less unnatural when you get induced. So it's less likely that women choose that option. So I was kind of looking for her to like hype me up a little bit, like looking for her to kind of reassure me. That was not the case necessarily. And I know she had good intentions, but in that moment I was kind of, you know, just being flexible with my plan and saying, okay, if I'm going in for an induction, you know, I need to consider an epidural because this is not necessarily the way that I had planned it, and doing something like Pitocin is not natural. So I wanted to make sure that I had that option if I needed it. They gave me two options. The first one, we always forget the name of. What is it called?
I can't remember. I'll think of it.
It's a prostaglandin. So they said, we're going to give you this prostaglandin and we're going to wait 4 hours. It's supposed to kind of naturally kickstart your body into labor. She said it either totally works pretty quickly or it does nothing at all. So we'll give you this, we'll wait 4 hours, and then we're going to move to Pitocin. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I do not want to go to Pitocin. It was like a little pill that you put in your mouth and you just let it dissolve for 30 minutes. She also checked me. I was already 2 centimeters dilated. My cervix was soft. That was my first, cervical check. I was thrilled. That made me feel so good. I'm like, okay, so my body is already progressing towards labor. That made me feel a lot better about the process. So I'm in the room doing like all these exercises, stretches. Meso.
Something.
Yeah. I'll put it on the screen.
Because I was thinking that, well, it's not the same.
Meso miracle or something, she
yeah,
said.
Well, that's it. The small percentage that it actually induces you, she called it like the meso miracle, where it's just such a low chance of it actually working that it was, I guess they had that term for it, but I was thinking of the mesothelioma commercials. That's what I was saying.
Meso miracle. So I guess I was the meso miracle or whatever the nurse said, because So I'm like, okay, this is my last chance. We did the pineapple, we did the dates, I did the curb walking, all the things, everything to try to induce labor. This is my last chance. So I'm doing like step ups they had like a little part of a chair in there. I was doing stretches to open my pelvis.
It's like 11 o'clock at night. Just got done watching the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, Jordan had TV on, nice. Watching hockey.
She's pacing back and forth, bouncing out a ball.
Trying to get things going.
Doing everything. And then it gets to probably about 11 o'clock. And with that in mind, it was like, okay, so we might have 48 hours of this. We should probably get some sleep. She wanted to keep going, obviously, doing everything that she can do in that 4-hour window to induce labor and not have to get Pitocin. But ultimately, it was like, lay down, try to get some sleep while we can, because this is going to be a long deal. So finally, she lays down.
Per your encouragement, which pretty much explains our relationship in a nutshell. Jordan being like, let's just relax.
I'm in my cot, laying down.
Yep. Lights
are off, trying to sleep. Every time, like every, 5 minutes, I'd hear a...
I should not do the horse thing.
I know, that just came out. But
yes.
It was a heavy breathing. I'm like, is everything all right over there?
And this didn't happen right at first. Like, it was a while. I remember thinking, okay, this isn't going to work. I don't feel a thing. I felt kind of like tired, if anything. I was like, oh, I feel kind of calm.
It's around midnight. I feel like this was starting.
I felt kind of calm, but I didn't feel anything at all. And then when the lights went off and Jordan said, let's get some sleep, is when contractions started. I was so excited. I was so happy. I just remember I've never been so excited in my life to experience pain. Like, I wanted the pain mentally. I was encouraging it. In my head, I knew that if I was able to go into labor this way, Pitocin wasn't going to be an option. So I'm sure that mindset aspect of it really helped, because I was ready. I was ready to go. I brought my essential oils. We brought the salt lamp, the Himalayan salt lamp. We had that set up in the bathroom.
You had dates.
I had my dates. I was still eating the dates. They had a little mini fridge.
Did you mention how much, they said how soft your cervix was coming in? That it was very huge for...
Very huge. My cervix wasn't huge.
No.
It was huge that it was soft.
Huge that it was soft for... Very huge cervix.
So that was very positive, and the joke of the entire night was the dates. Like, that I had them in the fridge. The nurses were kind of laughing because I'm like, it's got to be the dates. Just keep doing the dates. So do the dates, whether it works or not. They're delicious, and they definitely powered me through my very short labor. So the contractions started as soon as I laid down and relaxed, and I looked up at the clock, and Jordan's eyes were closed. He was clearly like trying to, get some shut eye. And I noticed, oh my gosh, every 5 minutes they're coming. This is great. I got so excited. And then they started getting a little bit more intense. I remember the nurse came in at one point and she said, can you talk through a contraction? And I said, yes. And then she left the room, and I looked at Jordan and I said, let's try that though. And a contraction came, and I tried to talk to him, and I said, no, I can't. I cannot do that. And so it was really hard for me, because they kept asking me to like rate my pain or whatever on a scale of 0 to 10. And that was, for some reason, that was really hard for me, because I didn't really know what to compare it to. I don't know. I didn't like that when they're like, what's your pain?
Yeah, you didn't do very well.
I did not do very well at that. I'm kind of
a conflict of wanting to say it wasn't as painful, or just
not having,
realizing it was painful.
Yeah, not having anything to relate it to. Like, knowing that this pain was also good pain. It's supposed to be happening. It's not like a...
Do you remember those old face things?
Yeah, the smiley faces.
How to tell how much pain you're in?
Yes, I do remember those. Those may have been more helpful. Who knows? Yeah. The number scale threw me off. So fast track, contractions started getting closer together. I had moved myself from the main room into the bathroom. Jordan was kind of resting, and he kept asking, like, can I help? Can I do anything? I went into full-blown focus mode. I was in the zone. I was in the bathroom. I had this like nice rhythm going where a contraction would come, I would go like move in some way, I would breathe, and then I would rest between the contractions. There was a curtain rod in the shower. I was using that to hang off of, to kind of like release some of the pressure and just kind of let gravity move things down. And Jordan again kept asking, like, how can I help? How can I help? I did not want to be touched at this time. It was kind of very much I want to do my thing. I'm in the zone. I'm kind of just breathing and staying calm. Like I was with my body in that moment and I had everything that I needed. There is a point when I did need you, which we'll get to, but the contractions started getting quicker and quicker. The nurse eventually came in. This is probably like what, 2 hours in? 3 hours? Yeah, 3 hours in. And she said, I don't think we're going to need Pitocin. Things are moving really quickly. She's looking at my contractions. Things were getting closer and closer together. And she was just kind of like hands off. She did help with some massage. She had me do this position where I was like on my side and she was kind of just rubbing my hips a little bit to kind of encourage the movement of the baby down. So I got up on the table. I assumed the position of all fours. I had seen that in a lot of different videos and stuff like that of people giving birth in that position, and that felt really good for me. I needed Jordan for sure for counter pressure at this point. So he would come behind me and he would push on my hips, and that felt really good in between contractions. I was also like laughing in between contractions at this point. Like it was so painful. I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is like crampy, it's uncomfortable. But then it went away pretty quickly. It was this nice, okay, this sucks, but I know that in a second it's gonna get better.
I feel like if I remember right, you would flip back and forth because
Yeah.
you weren't. There's enough time between it where you could flip back and forth, so you would get on all fours, you could feel one coming.
Yes.
We do the pressure, and you turn around and you relax for a little bit, and then we go do it again until it started going where you couldn't flip back and forth.
Kind of like a little dance.
Yeah.
Yep. So then things started getting really intense. I needed Jordan to give all of his might for the counter pressure on the back because it was like, oh, this is just so uncomfortable. And I say uncomfortable because I don't like to use the word pain. Of course, like pain is associated with childbirth, but it was more just like intense and discomfort. But the whole time I felt very in tune with my body. I could feel what was happening. I could feel the baby moving down, which was insane. Like when Jordan did the counter pressure, I felt like my hips had like more space for her to drop down. So counter pressure was awesome. I'm sure that was very tiring for him because
not as bad as it was
it's
for
not
you,
like
sure.
a light pressure. Like I had him literally dagger into my hips. And then what happened next? The nurse came in and she's like, we want to check you and see. The midwife came in and said, we want to see how dilated you are.
You started moving more, contractions faster and faster, and there was just like us two in there for a while.
Yep.
Until before your water broke, because
right.
Then you started to get, you were always just breathing through it, and then you started like audibly like being in more pain and having more pressure, and then you kind of started to freak out a little bit.
I started
at one point you're like, it's coming
when he's
you need to get someone. She's reaching for the
help button,
and I left to go get the nurse and midwife.
No one was there
because it was just us two, and by the time I got back in, her water broke, on the bed or whatever, and so they're like, all right, it's time to go. And then she wanted to check how
the midwife wanted to check how dilated it was, and I'm over here like, this baby's coming out.
You wanted to, but so that she wants to do it on your back because
I couldn't.
It's more accurate on the back, I guess. But every time she would start to turn over, she got another contraction, and she's like, I can't do it, so they did it the other way. And then we're used.
Nothing scarier than being like, the baby's coming, I can feel it, turning around, nobody's there. And I'm like grabbing the help button. Hello. So this is a 3-hour labor. This is a 3-hour labor with 10 minutes of pushing, just to be clear, just to sum everything up. During the pushing phase, they told me that the baby's heart rate was dropping.
It went in and out.
It went in and out.
You were fine pushing for a while, but then the first time her heart rate started to go, she's like, I need you to turn on your side. And so you turn on your side, she could probably go back up a little bit or something, and her heart rate would stabilize again, and then you go back. And then the second time was a little, because you were getting more close, you already had the ring of fire, and I think actually when they first came in, they're like, they can already see the baby crowning.
Yeah.
So it was crazy how fast it all went. But
I'm very grateful for how fast it went.
Yeah, it was the second her heart rate's dropping, I need you to push. I think that you took it as,
in my head, that when something could be wrong with the baby, I went to like, they're gonna do a C-section, and I just said, she's coming out. I pushed as hard as I possibly could, like channeled everything inside of me, and there she was.
Popped out.
Her baby girl.
Yeah.
I was not even, people kept asking, since we didn't know the gender, were you like shocked that it was a girl? I was shocked that a baby came out of me, honestly. I was just in awe of this tiny little human that in my mind, I didn't truly think was living inside of me for 9 months. For some reason that just...
Even though she was like an alien kicking out of your
I
belly.
know. How did you feel when she came out?
It was weird. It was, you don't know what the gender is or what it's going to look like, or, you know, you're hoping it's healthy, hope it's not, you know, deformed or anything, and you just see this gray little like thing come out, and they asked me like, do you want to announce the gender, and they flipped her over, and I was like, it's a girl, and yeah, it was just crazy. It all happened so fast, and then, you know, they do all this stuff, clean her up, and you're just kind of like, holy, this is wild.
Yeah, it just, everything happened. The birth happened so fast. Even the experience in the hospital, I feel like, had gone by so fast. So I did have a 2nd-degree tear, and they had to stitch me up. And I remember asking my midwife as she was doing the stitches, I said, you know, I know we're supposed to do breastfeeding as soon as she comes out. I'd like to, you know, get her on the latch. And the midwife said, you know, let's just wait a second. I want to get your stitches up first. This little girl, she army crawled across my chest and just latched on, which was the coolest thing for me to see, because I was like totally hands off, just thinking like, here we are, skin to skin. She's like in the middle of my chest, and she knew like exactly where to go, like the instinct of what it was like for her to say, this is where I'm getting food, I want it now. What a miracle.
She's always had a apparently strong neck. She just kind of flops herself over there.
She's a good girl, yeah. So then they transferred us down to another room. We actually had to share a room with another couple who also had a newborn, which was not ideal. We didn't get like any sleep that night, I don't think.
That was the tough part about going in at 8 p.m. Like, I would advise not doing that if possible.
As if you have any control over that.
Because she was born at 2:16 in the morning, and then, you know, by the time everything gets cleaned up or whatever, and she's stitched up and whatever, I think we probably left around like 3:30, because your mom came in at 3 or something.
Yeah, my mom got to meet her at 3, which was a really special moment.
And then 4 o'clock probably, roughly, they're like, no visitors, like, we're going into the whatever, the triage.
I don't know, I think labor floor, basically, or moving off the labor floor. Yeah,
so then you're in a room, hopefully by yourself, but we weren't. We had another newborn couple that was trying to sleep, but when you have 2 newborn couples, the nurses from each one keep coming in to check on the baby, to check on the mom, so it seemed like every 5 minutes, and there was one bed and one chair, and the chair was like
your bed,
my bed, but it was like you had to pass me to get to the other couple because we were closest to the door, and the curtain was like this close from the chair, so they tried to like shuffle past me, but they couldn't. So I woke up every time a nurse for them came in and a nurse for us came in, and so that was like basically a full 24 hours without sleep until we got our own bed. Yeah, the birth experience itself, in my opinion, was absolutely beautiful. And I say that because I think a lot of people talk about the negative side of birth and the pain associated with it and how grueling it was. And you're also probably watching this thinking, yeah, well, your birth was 3 hours. And that's true. Like, I was very fortunate to have a very short birth, but the intensity of it was not minimal by any means. And I even loved that aspect of it. I loved being able to feel every aspect of it. And I say this to encourage anybody who's interested in an unmedicated birth, that you can do this. You have tools, and mindset plays a huge, huge role in it, and having a supportive partner. So I just want to share that message with any women out there that have the desire to do that, but you have to do some training beforehand. First time parents, I guess, from a recovery perspective, there are things that I did not expect. I have heard from friends the recovery aspect of things down there and like what that would be like, but wow, like just so much swelling,
so much discomfort, just getting up and moving, even sitting. My whole abdomen felt like jello. Like it felt like my organs were rearranging themselves. It was the weirdest feeling in the world. They were, yeah. So that was pretty cool. From a recovery perspective, I've been doing red light therapy, Epsom salt baths every single day, eating really well. I did a lot of red meat. I prepped a chili ahead of time, an ancestral blend with liver, beef, heart, and ground beef. That, I feel like I ate that for 2 weeks. So lots of iron-rich foods, plenty of calories, resting when I can, and...
Don't necessarily have people visit as much.
Jordan's family came to stay with us for about 13 days, like in different groups after birth, and there were so many good positives to that, but it was definitely challenging, like being postpartum, navigating newborn life in your house, because they did stay with us. It was so wonderful to have them. I would not have done it differently in the sense of like having them be part of the experience, but it was a lot. And
so my family's first grandchild.
Yeah.
So.
And so they
don't live here. So.
Right. So it was really nice to have them be part of that experience. So those are the things I've been doing to recover. Eating really well, hydrating, resting, red light therapy, and Epsom salt baths are probably the 2 biggest modalities. Electrolytes, still taking my supplements, my prenatal, my liver supplement, my probiotics. I did deal with mastitis, which I can talk about at a later point, which I was able to get rid of naturally in the course of like 12 hours, but that was horrible. Breastfeeding is really hard. I would 100% recommend taking a breastfeeding course. I don't feel like I needed a full-blown course for like birth. I felt like I could watch a bunch of YouTube videos, read some books, but I wish that I had taken a breastfeeding course and had a lactation consultant before giving birth, because I met with one after birth. She was a amazing human being. She gave me so many tips, confidence, so I'd highly recommend that. And take advantage of that in the hospital. Yes, there's some great lactation consultants there. For first-time dad, what are your biggest insights? What are some things that you didn't expect?
I don't know if there was much that I didn't. Well, I thought she would probably sit around in her little boppy thing and be content.
Which she did for like a little while.
Hours
she like
of the
loved
day.
This thing, yeah.
But and we have nothing to compare to. No other baby. No, I haven't really asked friends about it either. She likes to be held, and if she's not, she can sit for a while, but she needs something. She needs to move around. Yeah, I thought it was going to be mostly she would sit there and you can, get some things done. It's not that big of a change, but she's needed a lot of attention. I don't know when you kind of break her from maybe not needing to be on you as much, but we're learning, obviously, as we go on what's presumably the right or how we want to approach it. Yeah, just make sure you support your wife on this. She has to be up feeding the baby like every hour and a half for the first, almost like now we're officially a month as of yesterday.
No, as of tomorrow.
She was born on
Saturday.
Saturday.
The 22nd. Oh.
I don't know, I guess.
Okay, whatever.
We're about a month. She'll go 3 hours sometimes, but also feed every like hour sometimes too. So, and she's got to be there for all of that. She's still recovering from the trauma of it too. And then neither of you get a lot of sleep because she's up every hour and a half to feed. Now, after about a month, she'll sleep. We kind of have a thing going where I'll stay up till about midnight, basically just holding her while she sleeps for 3 hours so that she can get uninterrupted sleep for 3 hours, because sometimes she'll wake up and, you just kind of put her back down. But we'll both go to bed. I'll go join around midnight, and then recently she's been sleeping till like 3 sometimes. So I'll get 3 hours, and then about 3:30 she'll wake up, and then she'll tell me I can go into another room and sleep because I got work and stuff too. So I'll get up at like 7:30 for work, and then she'll put her back down, try to get another hour or so, and then when she's up, and that's usually around 4:30.
Yeah, 5 sometimes. Yeah.
We got to learn sleep habits, I guess, but it's still only a month, so it's hard to really. I don't know. We're
learning.
Yeah,
we're learning.
whether you break them early or they're still too young to, you just kind of respond to what they need. But
Yeah, but he's been so supportive. And it's true, it's really hard as the mom when you have to be the one feeding all the time if you choose to breastfeed. And then, you know, they can feed at the beginning, especially sometimes for like 30, 45 minutes. And it's a long process. And you are physically still recovering. Like, even though on the outside I feel like I look fairly healed in terms of like I'm up, I'm moving, I'm cooking, stuff like that. But there's still a lot going on where my body is still recovering, I'm still bleeding, and just needing that extra support. So we talk all the time about like how we can't imagine being a single mom or having someone who isn't a supportive partner.
To all the single moms out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
We can't even imagine. So we feel very fortunate to be such a great team, and there's definitely challenges. We definitely get frustrated certain times, but you just have to communicate and navigate and just remember that, you know, this is all new and this is a phase that will go by so quickly. Everything is a phase. You know, the times that are good, it's just a phase. The times that are challenging, it's just a phase. And just getting through those and trying to like just look down at her tiny little toes and remind yourself how cute she is, and that we're gonna miss these days. I'm gonna start to cry.
Listen to Darius
Like,
Ruckers.
start to cry.
Darius Ruckers, it won't be like this for long if you need a little
but
pick
don't.
me up. It's not a pick me up, I shouldn't say that. It's a sad song. Not sad, but just a realistic song about how fast things go. So but it sometimes helps when she's screaming and you're like, can you not?
Can you not scream? But we are so in love with her. She's so healthy. She's been already gaining weight. She exceeded her birth weight after the first week. And that is a gift from God. We cannot be more grateful for this beautiful human that we've been given. And we do not take this responsibility lightly. And we're trying to have fun with it. Trying to have fun. Just thinking of the hallelujah. You start to get a little delusional and just try to have fun with it. Try to make the moments light. Anything else? I'll probably do a follow-up video on like nutrition stuff and other stuff, but I think this was so important for us to both be here and share this experience. I also think this will be a really cool video for us to look back on one day to have as parents. Oh, you gotta show the little cutie. How much she weighed when she was born.
6 pounds, 10.7 ounces.
Yeah. The perfect size.
Just a little nugget.
And that's the reality of having a newborn. Oh, sweetie.
I love her little coo.
I know. She looks so much like her dad. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you next time.